Lytudiep. Hello everyone. Today we will continue a very emotional story between dark conspiracies and a touching love story that overcomes many storms. Let's follow along. James, a cold and brilliant CEO, had never known what it truly meant to be vulnerable in love. Years ago, he had loved a woman named Diep, gently, completely, but not deeply enough to stay. When he learned she might never be able to bear children, James walked away. No explanation. No goodbye. Just silence. He chose ambition, status, and a calculated marriage with Trang. His long time assistant who had always stood loyally by his side, Diep, vanished. No one knew where she went or how she lived. James appeared to move on. Yet in truth, the shadow of her absence clung to him like a scent he couldn't wash off. Three years later, on a business trip to a remote village, James sat in the back seat of a sleek car with Trang beside him. As they passed a dusty marketplace, a familiar figure flashed across the window, slim, in a faded brown shirt, hair tied simply, carrying a basket of plums and holding the arm of an elderly woman. James's heart seized. It was Diep. He stopped the car immediately, rushed into the crowd, but she was gone. Vanished behind a wall of people and a stand of flowering trees. That night, he couldn't sleep. Memories of her eyes, the way they'd pleaded when she found out he was marrying someone else, haunted him. The next morning, James left the hotel and wandered the village, asking for her. Finally, a kind old woman pointed him to a modest house near the fields, where a young woman from the city had returned to care for her paralyzed mother. There she was. Diep was crouched beside her mother, massaging her arms, her frame thinner than he remembered, but still possessing the same quiet grace. When she turned and saw him at the gate, time seemed to stand still. She didn't cry, didn't rage, just looked at him. Her voice steady. "You came just to leave again?" James was struck dumb. All he could say was, "Let me stay. Just for one day." She said nothing. But that evening, she handed him a sickle and told him to help cut grass. He obeyed. His hands bled, feet blistered, but he didn't complain. She cooked a simple meal, boiled greens, salted eggplant, and fish sauce. He sat in silence, overwhelmed by a sense of humility he had never known. One day turned into a week, then a month. James grew used to waking early, hauling water, feeding chickens, and selling fruit beside her at the morning market. Watching her smile at her mother, the smile he had once taken for granted, he realized just how much he had lost. Her mother began to improve. Though silent at first, she slowly warmed to him. One afternoon, She called James into her room and handed him an unopened letter. It was from Diep, written years ago. Never sent. In it, she revealed how devastated she was after he left. How? After the heartbreak, she was diagnosed with a tumor in her ovaries and told she might never conceive. She left the city, thinking she was unworthy of love, determined only to live out her days caring for the one person who still needed her. James wept, for the pain he'd caused, for the time they'd lost, for the woman who had suffered in silence. But peace didn't last long. John, a bitter business rival James had once crushed in the corporate world, resurfaced. Learning of James's location, he sent a chilling warning: a fire in the village. And a note slipped under Diep's door: leave, or blood will follow. James couldn't let her be harmed. He returned to the city, this time with Diep and her mother, ready to end things once and for all. They confronted John on an abandoned construction site. When John drew a gun, Diep didn't hesitate. She threw a brick that struck his arm, giving James the chance to tackle him and hold him until police arrived. After that, James received awards and praise, but he declined all the glory. He returned quietly to the village that had become his heart's true home. One morning, standing under the white blossoms of the plum orchard, he knelt and presented her with a ring woven from straw. "I have no diamonds, no gold," he said, "but I have a heart that belongs only to you." She said nothing, just nodded, tears shining in her eyes. Their wedding was simple: no gown, no limousine, just rice fields, laughter, and the scent of wildflowers. A few weeks later, a miracle arrived. Diep was pregnant. The doctor told her the tumor had vanished, perhaps due to the change in her spirit, or simply grace. James held his newborn child in his arms, overwhelmed. The man who once feared love now had everything he'd never known he needed: a wife, a family, a second chance. From heartbreak to healing, betrayal to redemption, they had walked through fire, but they emerged, not just alive, but transformed. Not all love stories are born perfect. Some are broken, then rebuilt. Piece by piece, stronger, truer, forever. Thank you for following the story. Wish you all good health.